Alright, I've just finished making a super New York cheesecake following the recipes in my favorite cheesecake recipe book called I Love Cheesecake by Mary Crownover. And now I'm getting ready to slice this cheesecake. The first thing that I do, I've already done it, is I get my hot knife. I've got a hot glass of water. I've got my favorite knife that's the shape that I use, that I prefer. And it's best to go all the way around the edge and make sure that none of the crust or the cake is sticking to the pan. And then clean that knife off. I'm going to let it sit in the water for a minute. I'm going to remove the cheesecake out of the pan. I'm going to turn this part over, and this is going to be my base for slicing. But before I do that, I'm going to take the bottom off and take the parchment paper off. Well, it's a little sticky, but there's the crust, and I always add a little extra graham cracker so that the crust is super thick. I'm going to take the parchment paper off of the tray and then put the tray back on, and that will be my serving platter. And now we're ready to slice this up. Dipping my knife, I guess I can put this right here so you can see how many times I dip the knife. After every slice, I dip the knife in the hot water and wipe the blade. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. And I pull the blade out to make sure that the crust is all the way cut. The other half. And now guess what? I'm going to cut it in half again. And on this side. I can see the crust in the whole cheesecake separate after that slice. And then again, I'm going to continue cutting. I think that ultimately I end up with 32 slices. And the trick with the hot water is that it keeps the blade super hot, and then wiping it every single time gives you clean, perfectly clean cuts. You mind getting me a plate, because I'm going to serve here in just a moment. So you can see what a beautiful piece of super New York style cheese. You can just put it right there. And slicing and cutting a cheesecake, you'll see for the investment in the few minutes, this is not tedious whatsoever. It's just a few minutes of slicing and wiping the knife. It's really worth it. The presentation is beautiful. So we're at 8 slices, which are gigantic. So we'll go again around each slice, and you can see that that crust separates, the cheesecake separates at each slice. So I've cooked it to perfection. And using this method, you'll see that you can get some very precise thin cuts and I am going to leave a few of these on the large size because there'll be times where I want to have a large, some of us will want to have large slice of cheesecake, and some of us will, like the little ones, will want a small slice of cheesecake. Can you get me one more plate? Because I'm going to serve up 2 pieces, one big and one small. The big difference in using this method to slice, to warm the knife after each slice and wipe it after each slice, really comes into play when you make a cheesecake with a lot of toppings. So if you make a turtle cheesecake where it's got mini chocolate chips, pieces of nut, pieces of chocolate, what happens if you don't wipe your knife after each cut is that it presses that topping into the cheesecake, and it just makes a mess, and the presentation is not as lovely. So here we are with 16 slices of cheesecake, and let me show you how, using this method, I could cut each one again in half to get 32 slices. And I will show you the difference between a 16th and a 32nd. So this is, let's do a 32nd slice right here. Oops, I got underneath the serving plate. There's the piece. Oh, I broke that. That's okay. This is what 32nd looks like. And let me get a 16th right next to it. There's the rest of that slice. So there's a 32nd slice, which is still a considerable portion, and there's a 16th slice. Let's show that. The pretty side. The pretty side right there. Just like the book. And that's how you slice a cheesecake easily and quickly for beautiful presentation. And let's get one last shot like this so you can see how pretty that is. Bon appetit!